Next, I'd like to introduce you to our first keynote speaker, Mr. Shigeki Maeda. Mr. Maeda is Executive Vice President of the Japan External Trade Organization, known as JETRO. It's a government-related organization that promotes trade and investment between Japan and the rest of the world. Mr. Maeda is responsible for the North America region and the promotion of foreign direct investment to Japan. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Maeda.
Ms. Eileen Hirano Inoue, President of U.S.-Japan Council, Ms. Donna Cole, Chair of Japan-Texas Economic Summit, the Honorable Sylvester Turner, Mayor of Houston, His Excellency Shinosuke Sugiyama, Japanese Ambassador to the U.S., Honorable Hideki Omura, the Governor of Aichi Prefecture, His Excellency Tom Schiffer, former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, and all the other mayors, deputy mayors, representatives, council members, executives, community leaders, and other participating from throughout the state, this country, and Japan. It is a great honor to be back in Texas after 17 years and to be able to speak before all of you today. In preparation for my speech, I did a little research on the history of the relationship between Texas and Japan. I found that there are streets with Japanese names such as Kobayashi Road and Mikawa Road in the suburbs of Houston. Both came from the names of Japanese immigrants, but the start of immigration from Japan to Texas can be tracked back one influential figure in particular. His name was Seito Saibara. He set up a rice farm in Harris County in 1903. The average rice yield which Saibara brought from Japan was larger than that of the common local rice in those days, which resulted in a great success for his farm. The seeds gradually spread and became the cornerstone of the rice industry in Texas. Those names which I mentioned, Kobayashi and Mikawa, were also immigrant farmers who found success in selling rice, vegetables, and fruit at that time. In Japan, we call products which form a staple of industry the rice of industry. Until the 70s, the rice of industry was iron, but since then, it lost its position to the semiconductor. The first company to invest in the rice industry, the semiconductor field, in Japan was Texas Instruments. In 1964, the company applied a permit to establish a wholly owned subsidiary from then Ministry of International Trade and Industry in order to produce semiconductor integrated circuits. If it were happened today, the business would qualify for the subsidy. But at that time, the ministry was not eager to approve the investment as its priority was to protect and foster the Japanese semiconductor industry. After 2.5 years, the ministry approved it under the following three conditions. The subsidiary be jointly established with the Japanese company, patents be disclosed, and production capacity be limited for 3 years. As it turned out, Texas Instruments concluded patent licensing agreements with each Japanese company, and TI Japan was formed, a 50-50% joint venture with Sony in 1968, 5 years after the initial application. Thus, the rice of industry was brought to Japan from the state of Texas. Today, no one denies that the key driving force of Japan's economy is the automobile industry. It would be more accurate to call it the full-course dinner of industry, rather than the rise of industry. In 2017, Toyota opened its new North American headquarters in Plano to unify its operations, including engineering, sales, marketing, and financial services. Given the history of the relationship between Texas and Japan, it would not be wrong to say that this was a distinct event. Bewitched by the attractive business environment in Texas, numerous Japanese companies, including NTT Data, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Kubota Tractor, and Daikin also established headquarters in North America, just as the ambassador pointed out. This brings me to my organization, JETRO. We are tasked with promoting mutual trade and investment between Japan and the rest of the world, with a focus on following three pillars. First, facilitating Japanese export primarily of the agriculture and food products. Supporting Japanese companies in expanding business overseas. And third, helping expand FDI into Japan. The second and third fall under the all-important category of two-way investment. While Japanese licensees went on to form the roots of the Texas rice industry in the early 20th century, the United States would later push Japan to open its own rice market during the period of US-Japan trade friction in the 1980s. In trade negotiation with agri-export countries, the topic of importing rice is one of the most difficult issues for Japan. This might be easy to understand for anyone who has ever eaten rice in Japan. Japanese rice is delicious. It is with hope for more people in the world to enjoy such Japanese food and ingredients that we carry out our first mission, increasing their export. There are 1,051 Japanese restaurants in Texas, and I heard that Texas is the first state in America to hold an annual expo introducing ramen culture. I believe that the potential for exporting Japanese agriculture and food products here is significant. For 2 years now, JETRO has conducted a hands-on support scheme for Japanese small and medium enterprises to expand business overseas. Among 7,000 companies registered for this scheme, 1,800 companies are interested in doing business in the US, and 260 of these companies are considering investment in this country. From the results of JETRO's research aimed at Japanese companies in the US, Texas ranked first for 3 consecutive years to the question of which state market is the most likely to grow in the next few years. Likewise, we know that Texas has been listed the best state in the survey of best and worst states for business by the Chief Executive magazine for 13 consecutive years. While it would not be fair for us to recommend only Texas to these 260 potential investors in Japan, rest assured we are wholeheartedly promoting your state. Lastly, I'd like to touch on the promotion of FDI into Japan. MITI, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, which had once set up barriers for Texas Instruments to enter Japan, has become a new ministry. In the line with globalization, diversification of the market needs, and the rise of emerging countries, the life cycle of products and services has been shortened. Companies have been required to promote an open innovation model in place of the traditional in-house business development model in order to leverage external knowledge and technology into their own research and development. Presently, the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, the successor of MITI, works hard to facilitate open innovation for Japanese companies. JETRO has been also promoting exchange between the US and Japan in the innovation field through such events as the South by Southwest Conference festivals in Austin and the Offshore Technology Conference in Houston. The Abe administration has announced its aim to doubling FDI into Japan in its growth strategy known as Abenomics. JETRO is tasked with playing a key role in the strategy. It was in the early 2000s that we started activities to invite overseas companies into Japan in earnest. Since then, JETRO has supported more than 17,000 projects, and we have assisted more than 1,700 overseas companies in operating business sites in Japan. Among them, American companies make up the largest share, accounting for 28%. However, from the perspective of the FDI stock between the US and Japan, investment from the US to Japan is only 13% of that from Japan to the US. JETRO provides free temporary office space for international companies to start operation in Japan, as well as free consultation services by experts. We believe that a two-way investment is critically important. While providing hands-on assistance to Japanese companies in expanding business into Texas, we at JETRO will do everything in our power to assist Texan companies in entering Japan. We are your agent in Japan. If you are interested in doing business with Japanese companies, please talk to JETRO first. Thank you very much.